Hi everyone, welcome to my LIA 797 project. Can't believe we're almost here to the end of the semester. That's feeling really good since I'm graduating here in a couple weeks. But anyways, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the LiveBinder that I created for the classes that I worked with this semester, specifically English 10. Both classes are inclusive. One is an honors class, the other one is a non-honors class, but both classes do include students with IEPs, specifically learning disabilities. So as far as the project goes, students were, the focus of this project actually is to create a folder, an actual folder that they will decorate and with images and book reviews and quotes, and then they will finish it with writing their own personal reflection about the book that they've read this semester, as well as a review of the book. So what I did is I put everything together like I always do anytime students work in the library with me. I like to provide them with something that's digital, that's 24/7 access. As well as I always like to make all the resources that are digital printable, as well as I usually provide students with printed copies of the necessary parts of the project, specifically if they don't have internet at home. So here we go. You'll see here when we start, this is an overview of the guidelines for the project. Specifically what happens over the 3-day period that they will spend in the library with me. Well, I did spend in the library with me, which actually ended up being 5 days because we had snow delays and which shortened up the period. So it ended up being a 5-day stretch in the library, but the kids really didn't seem to mind. They more time, the better, I guess. But you'll see here specifics, exactly what we're focusing on each day. And then if we scroll down a little further, you'll actually see a graded and homework check so that the students know when the due dates of the specific parts of the project are due, that they're being graded on. And of course, because of the snow delay, we did make adjustments to these dates. Next, move along to the next tab, and you'll see the different tabs across the top. It says Book Review Folder, Project Instructions, EasyBib, Review Resources, and Other Resources. I'm going to move to the Book Review Folder Project Instructions. And this is a guideline that walks them through the project. And so we start off with what are the expectations. On the front of the folder, it gives specific examples there of what the expectations are. Then when they open their folder up, what goes on the inside left, what goes on the inside right, and then on the back of the folder, what should be placed there. This is kind of serves as a checklist for them. Then the grading rubric that they are going to be graded on is there, and it's very specific. I encourage the students to take a look at it in the beginning, in the middle of their project, and at the end of their project, just as a checklist as well. The next page here, you'll see links to specific resources pertaining to the library, and everything that's in blue is linkable, and it'll take them to a page specific to whatever the content is. Information on doing the works cited page. And then an exemplar or an example of what the project may look like. Now you'll notice here that the digital images on the front, because remember it says you have to have 5 or 6 digital images specific to the book that they've chosen. And then they need to cite those. And of course they have to number them similar to what they would do in a research paper, because remember, this is the prelude to the research paper that they'll be doing later on in the semester. And I also point out that the font here is quite large. Probably won't be quite this large when they actually do their own projects. According to the student, some of them may choose to use a size 10 or 12 font. Some may choose to use a little bit larger, and that's fine. Whatever they feel comfortable with is fine. And then you'll notice here as well, they're all numbered, followed by a brief description as well as the in-text citation. Then we move on to what the inside of the folder may look like. And notice it says on the left-hand side, that's where the reviews will go. On the right-hand side, that's where their quotes will go. And specifically, they have to include their in-text citations. And also continue to cite their images if they choose to use images on the inside of the folder. Then on the back, you'll see here the personal reflection and review. This is the writing portion that they write themselves. And there's a personal reflection. They specifically have to say whether they like the book or not. And in the review, they have to review the book, but also specifically say whether they would recommend the book or not. Over here on the left, you'll see a link to a page that actually gives them specific step-by-step guidelines for writing the personal reflection and review. We go back up to the top, move on to EasyBib, and this is the focus really of my LIA project. I created 5 video tutorials, and you'll see those here specific to this assignment. And I determined this because after doing 2 of my observations in the special ed department, I actually sat down and discussed with them what I could do to help them. And they said, they responded with the fact that the kids in special ed really struggle with EasyBib, citing the sources, that kind of thing. And they do too. And wondered if I couldn't create video tutorials specific to this assignment. And that's what I did. So you'll see here, it starts off with logging in, citing a book, which they have to cite their book, citing a review, citing a digital image, and then finally exporting their bibliography to Google Docs. Now over here, I'm actually going to click on the worksheet. We start with a specific worksheet, and I created, this isn't the first time I've used this, and it worked really well. It was one of the things that I did that I thought really worked well with both groups. Before jumping into using EasyBib, I slowed them down and had them actually look at their sources and find specific information according to what source they were using. So I created this worksheet. And you'll notice if it's a book source, there's specific questions, things they had to fill in, so that when they got ready to use EasyBib, they'd already found the information that they needed. So that made it much easier than them having to go flip back and forth from one tab to another. They could just set this worksheet beside their computer and go to work on their citations. And that worked really well for the kids. Then we'll take a look at one of the video recordings that I created. And they're all set up the same way. So we're really just going to take a look at just one of them for this overview. But you'll see here I use Screencast-O-Matic. And below you'll see that I created a script for it as well. And one of the things I really like about Screencast-O-Matic is that it will take you to specific points of the video, meaning that for students that already know how to log in or already know how to start with the book citation, whatever they're using for the video tutorial, they only need to go back and repeat the parts that they don't know, rather than have to sit and listen to the whole video to find what they're looking for. And the script really helps too, because it's specific to the content of the video. So all they have to do actually is click on whatever time stamp that's there to go to the specific part that they need help with. And I had a lot of kids say they really liked that. So I'm just going to play a little bit of the video tutorial.
Welcome to the Larson Library's EasyBib tutorial. To get started, make sure you have your school email address and password handy.
One other thing that I want to point out as well, notice the script that I mentioned below is also being used in the closed captioning for students, because we did have a couple English language learners in this class as well. So this was very helpful for them, but also for the students with the learning disabilities to have the closed captioning. And for the students that don't like this, they can actually just turn it off if they want to.
In order to begin citing your sources, one must start by completing the login process as follows. First, one must enter EasyBib's URL into the toolbar, which is www.easyBib.com, and then select Enter from your keyboard. Next, after accessing EasyBib's login page, select the word Login on the right-hand side of the screen. Then proceed by selecting the red Sign In with Google icon. Lastly, select your raterforlife.org account to sign into EasyBib. Please note that EasyBib has both free and paid access to its services. WA subscribes to the paid version, which includes additional tools such as the notebook feature and having access to the parenthetical or in-text citations. So, two things you need to double check before you go any further are to make sure you are logged in. First, next to the EasyBib icon in the upper left-hand corner, make sure it says Pro for Institutions. This means you are logged into WA subscription service. Second, in the upper right-hand corner, you should see the raterforlife.org email address or your first name. Please remember to check this information each time you use EasyBib. If you are not logged in correctly, EasyBib will not save your work. Now it is time to start creating your citations. First, we need to begin by creating a new project. As you can see from my long list of projects, I use EasyBib quite frequently. Remember, you only have to do this one time for each project, so go ahead and select the red icon, New Project. A white box will open, prompting you to fill in the project name and the default style. Make sure you check with your teacher as to any specific title or format style specified for the assignment. For this demonstration, I am going to use English 10 Book Review Jacket, Porter for the project name, and the default format style will be MLA. When I select the drop-down arrow, please take note of the other formatting options available to you through EasyBib. In most cases, selecting a subject and filling in what are you writing about are optional, meaning it is okay to leave them blank. Go ahead and select the red icon, Create, to finish creating your project. You should be able to see that your new project has been created. Go ahead and select Bibliography to start citing your sources. Now you are ready to move on to the other tutorials that are specifically created according to the type of sources you are using in your research project. Remember, if you have any questions along the way, please do not hesitate to contact your teacher or your school librarian for assistance.
The nice thing about the video tutorials is that the students can start and stop and move along as they move along with signing in, or whatever they're actually doing with the video tutorial, whether it's citing a book or citing in their review or an image, and they can just start and stop. And that becomes very beneficial, specifically specifically for the kids that really struggle with this procedure. And one may wonder, logging in is very simple. Why would you consider creating a video tutorial for that? Because a lot of kids really struggle with logging in. And I've had students come to me, and especially when they're not using their own computer, and if they're not logged in and they try to go back to it, they've lost the work that they've done. And that's really frustrating for kids. So reminding them that they must log in and the things that they need to look for to make sure that they are logged in is critical to doing this project, because I've had so many kids frustrated because they haven't logged in and they've lost their work. In addition to the video tutorial, for those students who may not want to use the video tutorials, I also added a print version of each of the video tutorials as well. So you'll see down here, notice it says print, logging in and creating a new project in EasyBib. So when students click on that, you'll see here a step-by-step guide with images specific to logging in. And I did this for each one of the video tutorials. I gave a step-by-step guide with images. I also paid close attention to the correct type of font, a sans serif font, using a black font on a white background. Also, the nice thing about this is that students can download this and print it, as well as make it larger. And they can do that by just clicking on the link here. And I actually review that with students on how to do that. Pop it out full screen, and then if any of the students do have low vision, they can make it larger if necessary. Next, you'll see here I also included other review resources. And again, you'll notice I did really try to pay close attention to the type of font that I use and the backgrounds that I use for this LiveBinder. You'll also see here different links to the resources that they need for the review section of the project. All they have to do is wait for this to load. I'm in Down East Maine and the internet is not the greatest. We'll skip this ad. And all the students have to do here is put in the title of their book and find their review. Same thing with Publishers Weekly and Kirkus, Teen Reads, Goodreads, Amazon, and then our own WA online catalog also includes book reviews as well. Other resources. Remember, I did mention that I do provide students with tips on writing the personal response and review, and there's a copy of that here. Notice, as I mentioned before, specifically the personal reflection, there's a series of questions that the students can use as a guide for writing this section, and as well as for the review. Again, this can be downloaded, it can be printed, and it can be made larger if necessary for students that need that. Sample of the works cited page. With specifics pointed out, things that they need to be looking for. Here's an example of what one might conclude if they're using Publishers Weekly. I also let them know what the in-text citation would be as well. That's what you're seeing here in parentheses. And then here, 2 sample citations for reviews. Specifically here for Kirkus, they're using something from Kirkus, another step-by-step guide of what the input would be as well. So if they had any questions about what they're looking for, what the in-text citation would be, as well as what the end citation would look like. And I did the same thing for Publishers Weekly. And then, of course, I always like to attach the plagiarism slideshow as to what is plagiarism by Joyce Valenza. Really like her and her resources that she has. I use this often with all of my students several times throughout the school year because I always do like to talk to them and remind them the importance of citing their sources. So this is the end of this portion of my LIA project. I thank you for listening. Please review the other resources that I've provided in this project as well. Thank you.